If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
Hey there, Conundrum Crew. Jeremy and Traci in the studio. And today's a special one. We've got a special treat for you in this episode.
That's right, Jeremy. We're diving into the deep end of weirdness, exploring conspiracy theories, flat earth notions, supernatural, and the unexplained. Hold on to your tinfoil hats, folks, as we interview Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are podcast.
And you know what's not a conspiracy? The fact that we want you to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you're cruising through Apple or Spotify, drop us a 5-star rating and let us know what you think. We love hearing from you, our fellow truth seekers.
Absolutely. And speaking of truth seeking, we've got some podcast pals to shout out this week. We're trading trailers with the hilarious One Nothing podcast and the mysterious Murders and Mimosas. Check them out. It's a podcast exchange extravaganza.
Now let's get back to business. We've got the usual suspects, conspiracy theories and flat earth beliefs. It's like a cosmic roller coaster, and we're here for the ride. We'll be back after these messages.
Are you struggling with a lack of access to captivating entertainment and media? Are you faced with constant judgment and ridicule from friends and family for your inability to respond appropriately to sensitive situations? If this sounds like you might be suffering from being emotionally dead inside. But it's not too late to make a change. One Nothing Podcast is a newly available treatment for being dead inside. Taken just once every 2 weeks, One Nothing could make a world of difference. By combining carefully measured dark humor to the amazing original formula of grisly fatalities, One Nothing Podcast has successfully entertained thousands of people suffering from death inside. And with access across all podcast platforms, treatment has never been more readily available. But don't trust my word. Here's some real-world testimonials from a few of our listeners currently undergoing treatment.
From consistent doses of One Nothing Podcast, my posture has greatly improved due to being kept on the edge of my seat.
The One Nothing Podcast comes on, everybody be like, shut the f*** up. I be quiet, but when the episode's over, I be talking again.
Oh my gosh, buddy. I used to be on so many medications for blood pressure, and then I listened to One Nothing Podcast's episode on Kitty Genovese, moved into an apartment on my own, and haven't needed it since. That one really got my blood pumping.
You know, listening to One Nothing Podcast, I'm not constipated anymore. I'm just full of shit.
So what's stopping you from great entertainment?
One Nothing Podcast is not intended for all audiences. Listeners under 18 years of age should obtain permission from your parent or guardian before downloading. Tell your therapist if you're predisposed to whining, complaining, reading podcasts poorly, being overall combative, or being easily offended, as One Nothing Podcast might not be right for you.
So stop letting great content pass you by. Talk to your therapist today to see if One Nothing Podcast is right for you.
Hey, everyone. We have Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are with us today.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I am peachy. I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. I had to work this morning, and now I'm drinking some kombucha for, I don't know why, but I decided to drink it. But other than that, I'm doing perfectly fine.
My son makes that stuff, and it just, the whole mother thing just kind of grosses me out. When you see that in a jar, it looks like otherworldly.
If you don't drink it fast enough, it can come back to life.
Ew. Yeah, I've had it. It's very vinegary,
Yes.
but I can't drink a lot of it, but it's not bad on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
But so why don't you tell us about your podcast and tell us where to find you?
Of course, of course. So it is called Where the Weird Ones Are. I started it almost, I think it'll be 2 years in April. It was really slow going at first, but it picked up probably around November of 2022. And it's been off the walls ever since, and it's been fun. I've been able to meet a lot of people like yourselves, and everybody's so welcoming and stuff. But it's a conversational based podcast based on guest experiences with, the paranormal, which, I mean, I know cryptids and aliens kind of fall under the realm of paranormal, but I like to say, I like to call like the aliens and cryptid stuff like supernatural. So I say paranormal, supernatural experiences, and I dive into conspiracies here and there. And I like to try and depending on the guest, I try to pick their brains on conspiracies and see how they feel about some of them too. And I touch on a lot of mental health because, when you have these kinds of experiences, a lot of people they think they've gone crazy and they're like, nobody's going to believe me. So like the basis of the podcast is to let people know that, they're not alone. And, if they want to tell their stories publicly, like I have an unbiased ear just because I've experienced a lot of things in my life as well. So I know what it's like. There's one story that I have that I feel like people are just like, you're probably lying. But to me, it's real. I really experienced.
Which one is that?
I ran into mushroom people when I was 10.
I was just telling Jeremy about that story. And because I binged your podcast a while ago. I think I'm a couple weeks behind now because I started listening to The Suspended Sentence, trying to spread the love around. And but so I binged all the way up, man, because I think it was just a couple weeks ago I stopped listening. Not stopped listening, but started listening to, one of the other ones. But so I'll go back and catch up again once I get done with theirs. But that story is crazy. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So when I was little, I had I used to wear glasses for the reason that people wear glasses is because you need them to see. And I was about 10, and my sister and I used to pretend that we would go out in the woods and pretend we were hunting monsters of some kind or aliens. And we had asked my mom if we could go out because we were supposed to go somewhere, and I can't remember where we were going. But anyway, she granted us permission to go outside. She was like, "Don't be outside too long. We got to get going soon." So there was a light dusting snow outside, so it was just a very thin layer of snow over the ground, and we were walking around in the woods pretending, like making up a story as we're walking around of some kind. And we're walking, and I just feel not feel, but I see my eyes, like it was almost like I walked into like blue plastic of some kind. This blue tint came over my eyes, and then all of a sudden all the snow was gone, and right in front of me, probably about 10, somewhere between 10 to 20 feet, was a little village of mushroom people, and they're stoking a fire in the center of this little village. And now they're like 3 inches tall. They're on, I mean, they look like they would have, if you didn't like take 2 glances at it and you just happen to walk by and catch it out of the corner eye, you probably would have thought it was a patch of mushrooms. You know what I mean? Like
right.
They didn't look like people like Toad does from Mario. They literally they were just mushrooms, and they were just moving around like they were people. And they had there was little huts made of bigger mushrooms, and there was mushroom huts going up and like little ladder looking things going up the side of the trees, and I was just like, what am I looking at? And I feel this tap on the back of my head. Now it didn't hurt it, and it wasn't like super forceful, but for whatever reason my glasses just fell off my head, and there's something on, I feel something on my shoulder. So I turned my head to look at my left shoulder, and there's a mushroom on my shoulder. And telepathically, he or she says, "You don't need those." And I'm like, "My glasses?" And it goes, "Yes." And I was like, and then like right after it said yes, it like all of a sudden it was like a snap of the finger. The mushroom was gone, and my sister was standing there. She's like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, I just lost my glasses." She like leaps into action to try and help me find these glasses, and she ends up stepping on them and crushes them. And then immediately I went into panic mode. I forgot all about the experience, and I rushed home to tell my mother about my broken glasses. And she's like, "Well, you have an appointment in a couple weeks. I'm not going to buy you a new pair, because if you need a new prescription, I'm just going to have to buy another pair anyway." So I had to like suffer for a while with no glasses. And then we went to the doctors for the eye test, and my doctor is overlooking the chart, and he just kind of, how they have those, they used to anyway. I haven't seen them the past couple of years since I've gone, but I don't go to the doctors very often anyway. But the dual looking things on the wheels that they've come in and sit on, and he just like pushes away from the little desk that was in there, and like turns and like swivels at the same time. He's like, "You don't need glasses." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, your vision's 20/20. Your vision's fine. It's perfect." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe wearing the glasses just kind of like strengthened them or something. Like, but he's like, it's kind of weird." And my mom was like, "Oh, like fucking so happy that she
didn't have to buy glasses anymore."
Yeah. So,
During
he's
that
like, "Yeah."
during that 2-week period without glasses, were you struggling to see at all, or?
Yeah, I was getting like constant migraines at first, but like not the whole time. Like, so one of the reasons why we even went to get new glasses to begin with was because I was getting like these severe migraines almost constantly.
Okay.
And especially after like reading or watching TV, I would end up, just crying because my head hurt so bad, and I had to go lay down in a dark room and stuff. So that's what prompted going to get my eyes checked to begin with.
Okay.
But,
yeah, I
yeah.
love that story. I've heard you tell it a few times on your podcast. And like I said, I was actually telling Jeremy about it just the other day. I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's got this crazy story of this little mushroom village that reminds me of like the Smurfs."
Yeah, I got that too.
Everything you describe, I just kept picturing
Just not
this.
blue.
Yeah, the Smurfs, how they have their little mushroom houses and, the little ladders going up everywhere.
I kind of
and-
wanted to play their theme song.
But instead of having the little Smurf guys, little blue guys, you had little mushroom guys, which is crazy. But like the talking about going through the blue film, it's almost like you crossed over a veil or something, or crossed through the veil of their world.
Yeah, that's what I consider that part like the going through the portal, I guess, like the door or whatever. And I don't know how else to like describe that, like that thing other than being like, what, how like people will set up the saran wrap across the doorway and they call somebody face first and do it. That's the only like analogy I can come up with. But like I wasn't walking in, I didn't feel like anything on my face. It was just like the tint over my eyes.
Right. Yeah, I love that story. That's why I was curious on which one that. I mean, I can see how it'd be something hard for people to swallow, but it's something that you experienced. And obviously, I mean, you didn't have to wear glasses afterwards, so there's something there,
True.
But
That's
so
true.
where can we find you on your socials?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, at both as Where the Weird Ones Are, but Instagram's Where_the Weird Ones Are. When I was making the Instagram, somebody had already taken Where the Weird Ones Are, and I was like, what the heck? Because I looked before, because when I was trying to decide the name of the podcast, I typed it in to Google to see if there's any other podcasts named it, and I went across a couple names, and I think the original one was I was going to do Where the Weird Things Are, but there's a cast named that, and then I came up with other names, and then I revisited like Where the Wild Things Are. The book.
Yep. And I have a hard time when I type your name, like when we're in those chat groups and stuff. I think I've actually done that. Amanda, I think, called me out on that one day. She's like, are you talking about Where the Weird Things Are? And I must have typed Where the Wild Things Are. And I'm like, yeah, I say it in my brain all the time.
I really like the play on that, and I tried the weird things first, and there's a podcast on that, and then I think I did like 2 or 3 other names, and they were all taken as podcasts, and then I finally was like, well, let's try Where the Weird Ones Are, and typed that in, and there was no name for that as a podcast. I was like, that's the one, that's it, that's what I'm going with. And but Instagram, somebody just decided to pull that, so I put the underscore in after the where. But I also have a website, which is Where the Weird Ones Are podcast.com, and people can reach out to me through that and stuff like that too. And there's a chat room on my website, but you got to become a Patreon member to get access to that.
Bonus content.
Yeah. And what else? Oh, I'm on TikTok as Kevin This Is, and as far as socials, I think that's it.
Nice.
I don't have Twitter because I never understood Twitter from even before called X. So
I handle our Instagram. Jeremy does all the Twitter stuff.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Think anybody understands Twitter.
I don't understand Twitter at all.
I've been thinking about getting on it now, because like you can reach there's people that are only on Twitter, you know what I mean? Like they don't even have Instagram or whatever, because I use Instagram mostly. Like I'm most active there. So
yeah, we started on just Facebook, and I just could not get any traction going on Facebook at all. And then I ended up encountering Amanda from One Nothing in a Facebook podcast group. And she had talked to me about doing a trailer trade and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down. And so we started like chatting, and then she's like, girl, you got to get on Instagram. And I'm like, I just have never done Instagram. I had an Instagram, but I never used it. So I went out there, created an Instagram, and that's how I found everybody, got into this great little community that we're in. And like when all of the traction I would get from Facebook was all like negativity, and it was everybody, all the other podcasters were out for themselves, and they didn't want to help. It was all about their growth. And the group that we have, we all grow together. We promote each other. I love it. I love doing it. And we're working on this little story collab right now that I am so excited about. I can't wait for that to all come together.
Yeah, me too.
And you get to finish it up here shortly. Kevin's the last one.
Excited.
Yeah. So
I guess flex the writer muscles.
You do. And I think it was perfect that it ended that way, because you just recently created your own comic book too.
Yep, I wrote. It's not done yet. It's in illustration right now. So
yeah, I thought about trying to. I was thinking about maybe reaching out to your illustrator girl. I can't remember what her name is right now. She's been on your podcast a few times.
Yeah, her name's Emily.
Emily.
She goes by the Art Medium.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Once it all comes together, I thought it might be kind of fun to actually have a book created for each of us that, contributed to it. So, but I haven't fully figured out how I want to go about it yet. So I might be reaching out to her. So, but well, anyway, should we get to the fun little get to know you questions that we have?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think we should start with the hardest questions first, don't you?
The hardest ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, Kevin, what's your go-to dance move when nobody is watching? And can you describe it?
The sprinkler.
The sprinkler. I love it.
And behind your head, and you stick the other arm straight out, and you just kind of like act like a sprinkler. You bring your face.
I like it.
I do too. All right. So, if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be, and what would your superhero name be?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard one.
Told you they were tough.
Invisibility.
Yeah.
And my superhero name would be Kevin.
Love it.
Just some random guy named Kevin.
Just some random guy named Kevin. All right. So
I was just saying, you're gonna say you can't see him, and he stops people from, I don't know, doing crime, I guess.
There you go.
If your life had a theme song that played every time you entered a room, what would it be?
With these hard. Shoot, man.
I'm just glad somebody else is having to answer these questions for once, because Jeremy's been hitting me with them lately.
I guess Alpha and Omega by King 810.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. I'm up.
Yeah.
If you could have any fictional character as your sidekick for a day, who would it be and why?
Batman, because he could probably teach me all of his tech skills.
Tech skills are
There you
awesome. Jeremy and I used to be techies. Well, we're still techies, but we used to actually work in the field.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
The podcast has been like a learning process. So because I was never good at any like computer stuff. So
yeah, you definitely get challenged when you go into the whole podcasting thing, and the more you add, and
Yeah.
I mean, even there's some days where we were both in the IT field for many years, and there's days that we look at each other and like, well, now what?
Yeah, we struggle every day, especially as video and audio.
Yeah, that's been because we edit ours, and that's been a big challenge with. Well, we bought these Ozbot, they're AI cameras that like follow you and stuff, and Jeremy's isn't working on his Mac. It's cutting out his audio, and mine was working, and then the last video we tried to do, my audio was off, and it's been like a whole, we're like, we just need to spend a little bit more money and get better cameras.
Simplify. All right, so the next one. If aliens visited Earth and you were the first person they encountered, how would you explain the concept of pizza to them?
Shoot, I would just tell them that it's a salad. I don't know. It's warm and inviting is how I would describe it.
That
Gooey
is true.
and gooey.
Ooey gooey, yeah.
Bite into it,
I like that. It is kind of a salad. It's a conglomeration of a bunch of different goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to survive a zombie apocalypse with only 3 items from your kitchen, what would they be?
This might be the toughest one.
Rolling pin,
Right?
the kitchen knife, probably the food condenser, just like the base of it.
There you go.
That was pretty good.
All right, next one. What's the weirdest food combination you enjoy that others might find strange?
Mustard on a plain bagel. I mean, an onion bagel and an egg.
I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeremy freaked out on me the other day. Not freaked out, but we had ordered Instacart delivery, and I had them do just a random pick of donuts from the bakery. And one of the donuts was maple with bacon on top.
Raw bacon.
It wasn't raw. It was cooked. It was just cold.
Well.
And he was just looking at me like I was crazy that I was eating it. I'm like, it's really good. And he's like, no. And I'm like, try it. He would not try it. He was freaking out on me. Like, he's like, that's cold bacon. I'm like, it's just like bacon bits, kind of, you know?
Yeah, but cold. Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't eat cold bacon either.
See?
It's a texture thing.
Yep.
Not even in a salad?
No.
Huh.
No.
Well, he tells me I eat weird things all the time, so he won't do sushi. He won't do any of that stuff. He's a burger guy.
Burgers are good.
Oh, yes. If he could eat them every day, he would.
I would, yep.
Let's see. What's the next one? If you were a wizard, what spell would you cast on a daily basis just for fun?
We're going Harry Potter on you.
Oh, my goodness. Zero gravity for the entire world is what I would do.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be a good one.
Or something like that. Just randomly, everybody's like floating, like, holy shit, what the hell's happening?
I like that. That's a great answer.
All right, so the next one, which is a weird one. If you had to choose between fighting one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses, which one would you pick?
I liked this one.
I did not.
I would pick the duck-sized horses.
Okay.
That's what I picked too. I'm like, I could step on them. They'd be smaller. It'd be easier to defeat.
Because, duck-sized ducks can still like peck and bite and stuff. And a duck-sized horse, what is that going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty safe there. And
if you have a horse-sized duck, that's a big-ass beak and wings coming at you.
It could probably swallow you, It grabs you right by the head of the beak and just tosses you up, and then you're right down the hatch,
Yeah, down the goblet. But yes, I liked that one. Jeremy kind of looked at me funny when I found that one. I'm like, no, I kind of like that one.
All right, now we're going to get into the real questions.
The real good
stuff. The hot topics.
Oh, boy.
We are going to start off with going into the conspiracy theory stuff.
Okay.
So how did you become interested in conspiracy theories, and what motivated you to explore and discuss them on your podcast?
All right. So it all started in a little town called Sanford, Maine. And I was about 13 years old in 7th grade. And the year was 2001. And I watched on TV the World Trade Center plummet to the earth. And I remember seeing this one segment back then of this woman saying a second plane had hit Building 2, and yet Building 2 had not yet been hit. And then probably about 10 minutes after she said it, then the building had been struck. So I started questioning the media first back then, but I didn't really pay attention to it until 2020. And then I started diving down into these these conspiracy theories. I mean, the thing that won't go away from 2020, that kind of like opened my eyes to a lot of things. Not that it's not a real thing.
Right.
I just think characters at play that cause this thing to happen. And then the more I look into things, the more I realize some things just don't add up.
Yeah.
And I started listening to podcasts and the evidences of things that they were highlighting and stuff. I was like, yeah, you got a point. And then when they started coming true, and like in 2021 and 2022, certain things like, Hollywood, like Hollywood's weird as hell. All the
Yeah, it
people
is.
there. And there's a lot of symbolism for a lot of things too. And, I don't recall a lot of them, but it's the one eye thing and stuff like that. It's just it's interesting, and not that I'm a flat earther, but that one conspiracy is I find the most intriguing, just because like there's people that are like 100% flat earth, and then there's people 100% globe. But I know that we never landed on the moon, so.
Well, that's fantastic, because that's actually what this episode's really about. So we're going deep on the flat Earth thing here.
Yeah, Jeremy, I brought it up to him from listening to your podcast. And I was like, you should go down the rabbit hole of the flat earth. And he's been like putting stuff together for a few months now.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, they were talking about this as being a theory, or they were talking about that as being a theory. And then he's like, this is infuriating because the flat earthers do not like give any, they just say this is why, or this is what it is, and they don't give explanation.
They don't back it up.
And then I've been listening to him listen to like these scientists going against the flat earthers and how heated these discussions get. And I'm like, somebody's going to kill somebody. I mean, they get heated and they start name calling, and it was quite hilarious listening to him listen to a lot of this stuff. So, but I knew you had the interest because that's one question that you ask most of your guests. Do you believe in the flat earth, or do you believe the earth is flat or round? And so we kind of wanted to do a little bit of, put a little sprinkle of everything from you do the conspiracies and the paranormal and all that stuff. So we wanted to kind of do a little sprinkle of everything for you.
Yeah, all the fringe topics.
Yes.
All right. So the next question for you. From a psychological perspective, why do you think people are drawn to and believe in conspiracy theories?
I feel like because a lot of people have a hard time dealing with that this is all there is, and it causes them to look into things, and they find things odd and weird. Yeah, I think the reality of like working and going home every day, and that's it. It causes people to question the things around them and why things are the way they are.
Right.
Well, and then you've got the big, basically, it was like the world rebooted. Was it 2012 with the whole Mandela effect and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what year it was, but they were saying something happened, and I think it was 2012, I believe, and how everything could just kind of, what we knew changed.
Yeah, they say we all died collectively in 2012, and ever since then we've been computer generated.
Oh, that's so interesting.
We live in the Matrix.
We live in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, have certain conspiracy theories had a significant impact on historical events or public perception?
The JFK,
that's a big one.
Assassination, I think, is really big. Because they just released CIA or FBI documents on the situation, and it kind of alludes to the CIA had an issue with with JFK and like the Kennedy family. Really, the Kennedy curse.
Yes,
they're all dropping like flies.
I was just listening to somebody's podcast on that, and I couldn't believe all of the family members that have just. I didn't even know about some of them. I was like, wow. And then their daughter that they did that lobotomy on, and then just left her in that, psych ward. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like RFK, now I have this weird feeling that, something's going to happen to him, especially if he becomes like the Democratic nominee, because even like you can be left or right. It really doesn't matter. Your political views. It's like the elitist or the 13 families or Illuminati or the Freemasons, whatever you want to call them. They're gonna pick whoever they want, no matter who you're voting for.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah. So like, if RFK gets the popularity vote and stuff, like, Joe Biden's already is a puppet. He's not even himself anymore anyway. So, if RFK becomes, the number one, I think he will be. I think something will happen to him on a pretty significant scale.
Definitely. Do you ever hear about that Kelly Perry thing that happened on stage where she Katy Perry, yeah.
Or when she's like, "Oh, master, I
Yes.
don't feel." Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you
that's
think about
bizarre.
that?
Do you know who? What the heck is her name? She was a beauty pageant queen.
Yes.
She was a little girl.
Oh my God, JonBenet
Her last name,
Ramsey.
JonBenet. Yes.
Ramsey, yes.
So there's a theory out there that she is Katy Perry. So there's the picture that's of her everywhere. It kind of looks like Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting right behind her, and then shortly after that, she goes missing. There's no body anywhere or anything like that, and they can't find her. And then, Katy Perry kind of like would be the age that she would be now.
So in that conspiracy theory, so in JonBenet Ramsey's story, or from what I've heard of the story anyway, or the case, her father found her body in the basement, and he brought it up. Was that incorrect?
I'm pretty sure there was. They just found blood in the basement.
Okay, because the story or the podcast that I've listened to on it, they said that they brought her up and then they DNA tested her underwear, and then they found that she was killed by a garrote, that what they spin or turn when they're strangling someone. But maybe the podcasts that I've listened to haven't been correct either.
Yeah.
I'll have to dig into that a little bit. I haven't done a story on her yet.
From what I knew, that they didn't find, they never found her body.
Okay.
But so like the theory was that she is Katy, that Epstein and Maxwell raised her to be Katy Perry. But either way, even if that it's kind of far fetched anyway. Even if they didn't find the body.
Yeah, I have heard of the theory of her being. I've heard that the death was faked and that Katy Perry was actually her. I have heard that conspiracy before, but then I heard the one of her like blinking out during that concert or whatever, and I haven't seen the footage on that. I haven't watched the video on it, but I'm like, that's really weird. Was it a big stage act or was it something that actually happened?
Yeah. They were saying that she was a robot because of the eye thing, right? And that she might be AI generated, and she's just like all this stuff. And the master thing, like, it's the going theory that like all these people who find like major success, not all of them, but a good majority of them, had sold their soul to the devil essentially, and that's why they get these amazing things. But the devil is not creative. That's why he can't create any blessings. He can only grant opportunities. And then once you get the opportunities, you yourself have to capitalize on them first of all. And where the hell was I going with this? Oh, and then you get eventually you have to pay with your soul, and then there's things that you have to do in order to stay relevant and stuff like that, and then you just kind of lose yourself. And that's what I think happened to Katy Perry. She was kind of like she was having a meltdown, and I think she was honestly on stage publicly praying to her God.
When you talk about the, selling your soul and stuff, it makes me think of the show Supernatural with the going to the crossroads and burying the box or whatever, and then making your wish with
Making your deal with the devil.
Yeah, with the demons or whatever, and then what is it? 10 years later, the hounds of hell come and take you.
Yep.
That would be freaky.
So yeah, that is. Yeah, I love that show too.
I loved that show.
But yeah, no, right here it says that JonBenet Ramsey was found. So.
Oh, did you find it?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I
You're
thought
right.
she was in because from what I remember reading hearing, is her dad, and he made his friend come with, and they're like, oh, maybe we should check the basement. And then all of a sudden he like brings her up and then set her on the floor, and they're like, whoa, first off, the whole crime scene was trampled on as it was because there was so many people in and out of the house. But they thought it was strange that he asked his friend to go down, and I think he asked his friend to look in the room that they found her, and then he swooped in and grabbed her and carried her upstairs. And then the whole DNA testing of her underwear ended up leading to somebody that actually worked at the manufacturing plant where the underwear was made. So that person's DNA was on the underwear, so that, that lead went away. So that's
Right.
what I thought I remembered hearing, but I'm sure there's all sorts of different spins on it, and nothing's ever been solved.
Now that I think of it, I think the theory was that it was a different, like, her body was faked or something like that.
And that could be. I could see them, spinning that too, but who knows? I mean, you just don't know. You have to believe what you're told.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
All right, Jeremy, what's the next question?
How did you first become interested in the flat earth theory, and what led you to explore and discuss it on your podcast?
So back in 2020, I heard this story of Admiral Byrd during World War II. And it was shortly after World War II, one or the other. And he was exploring Antarctica. So he had this ship and this huge crew out in Antarctica, and him and another pilot took a plane off to go up over the ice wall and stuff. And in his diary, he describes being intercepted by these aircrafts that came out of the water in the Antarctic Ocean, and so they basically intercepted their plane and brought him to like this place that was like it was green grass and it was warm, but it was so surrounded by all this ice and snow. And they had not, or maybe they didn't bring him there, but they were speaking to him through the comms of the ship, and they had Nazi symbols on their spaceships. And he basically described them as spaceships, not like airplanes or anything. They were some kind of aircrafts that didn't look of human technology, according to him. And they had Nazi symbolism on their ships. And they told him that he needed to, turn around, and that they won't fire on them. And they outnumbered him. And when they were flying over the ice wall, they saw, the woolly mammoths, and they saw this, area that was green grass, and they saw more land on the other side that continued on. So that's one of the based theories of the flat Earth, and what has caused, many people to go down the rabbit hole and to test their theories, but his son, Admiral Byrd's son, there's this weird discrepancy on the journal that, because this was all written in Admiral Byrd's journal, and it kind of looks like all that stuff, that part that talks about the weird stuff, is in like a different handwriting, and his son has been accused of like faking the story and stuff, but you never know. He could have been writing it in like this duress of some kind after experiencing this. And what better way to like control a population or the vibration than to lie about how much of the world there actually is.
Right.
So I like to listen to people's theories and stuff. Not that I actually believe that the Earth is actually flat. I just find the topic so interesting. And if that really happened, like that's weird. And you see all these like videos too of people out in Antarctica, and like these weird things happen when they get to the wall. Like there was this one video of this ship out there, and it was more like of a personalized ship, like a small like fishing ship kind of.
Okay.
And they're approaching the ice wall, then all of a sudden these waves just start coming, and it was almost looked like there was like some kind of like sea monster. Like you couldn't see anything, but it looked like this huge like fish or something was like coming up towards the like brink of the water, but not coming out of the water, and forcing this boat away from the wall. And if you visit Antarctica, you have to stay on base. You're not allowed to leave the base, or else you'll run into like soldiers and stuff that will basically escort you back. So that's another weird thing. Like to visit Antarctica, you can't go anywhere.
Well, don't you basically have to be a scientist in order to visit it?
Yeah. That too. You have to get all these credentials to go out there. You have to get permission and all that stuff from I don't know what government or anything. It might be UN maybe that you need to.
I think it is.
Yeah. So that is oddly peculiar. But yeah, no, that's pretty much the basis is the Admiral Byrd experience. It had led me to that. And then, I researched the moon landing. I've watched the video like 100 times, which is, it's odd to me about a lot of things about it. And it's weird that we haven't gone back and that we can't seem to how to figure out how to go back, especially with the way technology is now. So
yeah, kind of weird.
It is. How do flat Earth supporters address scientific evidence supporting a spherical Earth, and what arguments do they commonly present to challenge the mainstream science?
Deep.
There's these like cameras that supposedly can see like thousands of miles, and if you go out into the ocean and you're filming from land, because how like supposedly if there's a curvature, that's why you can't see anything out further. But our human eye can only see so far,
right,
to begin, which you would never be able to see any kind of curvature. But they also say that to like the scientists or whatever, or really anybody that believes in the spherical globe, when you see a ship out into the ocean, how come you see ocean but you see the top of the ship? You can't see the whole thing. But the flat earthers will be like, well, you can only see the top of it because of like miraging from sun glare, stuff like that. But they use these cameras that can see like forever away, and they were out on a boat and with one camera and on land with another, and they were measuring, and it didn't seem to have a curve from where there is supposed to be a curve. And then the stars. The stars is another thing. How come we see the same stars in almost the same positions every night? The North Star is always in the same spot. How come if we're a sphere hurling through Earth at thousands of miles, the galaxy at thousands of miles, how come the same star, the North Star, is in the same exact spot every single night?
That is true. I've never thought of that.
I've never thought about the North Star. I guess I didn't realize it was in the same spot, but the constellations constantly move. They move throughout the seasons, but I never realized the North Star was always in the
stationary.
same.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, because they use the stars to navigate back in the day,
That is interesting.
Interesting stuff.
So, and then they say that the clouds give it away too. How come if we're a gas ball, how come the bottom of the clouds are flat and then the tops of them are big and fluffy?
I'm going to have to look at the clouds closer now. I guess I never thought of that or noticed that either. I just noticed the fun little shapes in them.
Yeah. I used to look at the shapes all the time when I was a kid.
I love doing that. It's like all of a sudden you'll see something and you're like, oh, it looks like this.
Yeah. But I also think that you can't really tell that the bottoms of them are flat from the bottom. I think they talk about being like in the sky with them. And
okay.
They more like the bottom ones are more flat on the bottom, and then they're just like this big combustion of bubbles on top. So
okay.
There's another one. It's you know how like when the sun shines through glass, it gives this like
prism effect.
Yeah, and you see that naturally in outside sometimes.
Right.
So like the theory is that we're in a glass jar sometimes. That's another one.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting, but yeah. I mean, I can see it either way, because that would be more like water droplets in the air, which, if you ever shine light through water, you kind of get that prism effect too.
Yeah. There's another one that gravity doesn't exist. We're just, it's the buoyancy in us because we're in water. And I don't know about that one at all. Like I'm just, I don't know. That's kind of far fetched. But
yeah, I think I would think we would realize if we were in water, especially with all the electronics that people have nowadays.
Yeah, it baffles me that there's so many different theories out there. Like some people have some really vivid imaginations when it comes to this flat Earth theory.
Yeah,
and I kind of came up with my own version of my flat Earth.
Yeah, so we'll be doing separate from your interview. Jeremy's gonna be doing a story on the flat Earth and stuff, and he went into it, and that'll be on I don't know, is it this episode or another episode? I'm not sure, but it will. He goes into his own. He kind of plays fun with it, and then the other night he asked me to.
We'll be back after these messages.
Hey Murderitas, I'm Danica.
And I'm Shannon.
We are the mother-daughter hosts of Murder and Mimosas,
a true crime podcast that strives to focus on lesser-known cases.
We personally think these episodes go down a little bit better with a mimosa.
You said we share.
So grab yours and get ready because every Saturday at brunch time is a new episode.
You can listen to us on any podcast platform.
Help him do some stuff, to play some fun with it too. And so I went into, I kind of went with like water-based animals and then land-based animals.
Like Nessie's actually
a submarine,
a secret submarine.
So we kind of had some fun with it. So he goes into the whole theories and what they say and what they believe. And then he goes into his own play of it. So we're doing like a kind of like our own fictional supernatural, which is going to be fun. So you'll have to make sure to listen to that.
It'll be a lot of fun.
I'll all of them.
Very comedic version of Flat Earth.
So yeah, and I have like, what did I have Yeti as, like the Antarctic, basically he was like the police of the Antarctic or something. He like patrols the Antarctic and keeps everybody away, and yeah, we had some fun with it.
So, what sparked your interest in the paranormal, cryptids, and the unknown? And how did you decide to dive into podcasting about these topics?
I have a lot of paranormal experiences throughout my life, so that's where it started. One of my earliest memories is of shadow figures, and so I've experienced a lot of I've seen a lot of shadow people, and I see shadow people in the house that I'm in right now. I haven't seen them in a couple weeks now, but I'm sure one of them will pop its head in at some point. I heard a knock on my studio door the other day, and nobody was here. It was only me and my dog in the house, so it's kind of weird. But that's what sparked my interest. And then movies and stuff. Like, I'm a huge horror fan.
Right.
I love all of it. Slasher. It could be cheesy and corny, or realistic, and I like the ghost stuff, like especially at night too. Especially when I was like a teenager, I would watch a ghost movie and scare myself, and then I would like test myself in the darkness. Although, like, if anything, after a horror, like a ghostly movie at night, and there was a noise, I'd run at any time.
I probably still would now.
My sister says if out of everybody that she knows, that if out of everybody she knows if anyone were to survive a horror movie, it would be me, because I don't ask questions or anything. I just run based off of it. Yeah.
Did you grow up in a haunted house then, or?
Well, I don't know if it was haunted, but there was definitely weird stuff happening. Like, because we moved around a lot. So all my experiences are, a lot of them are other places. So pretty much there's at least one experience in almost everywhere that I've lived. But my grandparents' house is where I saw most of it. That's where the property next to them, that's where in the woods, that's where the mushroom people were. The shadow people in their basement. I saw apparition out on their swing set in their backyard.
Was that the spaghetti guy?
Yeah.
You got to tell that story.
I was 9 years old. I had tried to take my own life with a blade, and obviously didn't succeed, because if I did, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now.
We're glad of that.
And so I was out on the swing 2 weeks after this happened, and I just see something out of the corner of my eye by myself, and I'm like, somebody's on this. There's nobody on the swing, and I turn my head, and it's this old guy sitting on the swing next to me. Can see completely right through him, and it's a lot like what a lot of movies depict a ghost, where it's just like, wispy, wavy white, and you can see through it. And his face was distorted. I couldn't see like any kind of like facial features or anything, but for some reason I knew he was old. And he had something in his lap, like in his hands. And I know it's stringy, but I couldn't what I can only like describe it as was he was either knitting, or so like a bunch of yarn in his hands, or a bowl of noodles. I have no idea or no recollection of what it actually was, but I just know that it was stringy.
So that's how he became Spaghetti Man.
I call him Spaghetti Man.
Oh.
He became Spaghetti Man. And he just he goes, "Hey, be patient." I was like, "About what?" He's like, "You'll know." I was like, "Oh, all right." And then it was like, sleep paralysis, but obviously I'm not sleeping. I'm out on the fucking swing set, and I'm just staring at the ground, and I want to run so bad, but I couldn't move. And it felt like forever. It was probably only 2 minutes. And I finally turned my head, and he wasn't there.
Crazy.
So,
Well, I think he was giving you a premonition of your future with your podcast, because with your podcast, you open a platform for so many people to be able to listen and talk about things that other people may look down their nose or may look at differently. You open the whole platform for mental health. So you make it a safe place for people, and you're helping people through the airwaves, because they know that it's okay to think the way they think. They know it's okay to, that these things are happening that they can't understand. And so I think that was a premonition to you being able to create this wonderful thing for people to feel like they have a safe space.
yeah, thank you for that. I think he was definitely alluding to now, with everything that's has gone on. I attempted twice, and thought about it a third time when I was 30, and I don't know, just the things my kids and I have the opportunities to experience now, and all the people that I'm meeting through doing this podcast, and the traveling that I'm doing for the podcast, just to network and stuff like that, has been really rewarding for my own spiritual growth. That, like, I don't even care about growing the podcast. I just want to talk to people,
Right. And I think that's the true organic thing about your podcast, is that you are truly there to listen and to talk and to share. And that is something that, a lot of podcasts don't have. You have a really great platform, and the way that you go about everything is phenomenal. That's why I found it so easy to binge. I couldn't wait to hear the next story. I couldn't wait to hear the next guest. And the things that happen, like the crazy things with that one, the guy that I can't remember his name now, where you actually had voices coming through during the podcast, and how some of these people have been able to be joined together. And so it's, you've helped other people with other things, and some guests have been helping other guests, and it's just a incredible community, and the way that you do it is phenomenal. So you definitely need to give yourself a big pat on the back.
You're making me cry, Traci.
I'm not trying to make you cry. I'm speaking the truth. I mean, you have a phenomenal platform, and I'm very, very blessed that I found this group of people and was able to, hear all these different stories, like Farah and her blog that she has now. I mean, she's going totally. Farah was the Conversation Cabin. Now she's Sinister Studio. And she has created a blog that she goes raw. She talks about all of her life events, and that's a lot of stuff that people try to hide, and they want to just get out here and they want to try to just make it big. But that's not what it's about. It's about, sharing your story, sharing your experiences, sharing stories of others. And that, I think, is what is really important. And I think that's where our small indie pods are going to make a difference someday.
I 100% agree. Just the love from everybody and stuff, like, has been the best part of this entire thing. So
definitely.
It's helped a lot from a lot of, like, I talk about it a lot on the show too. Like, I used to be really introverted. It was hard to get myself to talk to anybody about anything. But yes, even to go back to the question, what got me into the podcast, like, when I used to, honestly, I thought podcasts were kind of stupid for the longest time. And I was like, who the hell wants to listen to other people talk about, just talk?
Right.
And I started with Joe Rogan. And then I got into a conspiracy podcast, and that one was crazy. and I'm anti-vax, so like a lot of things that the conspiracy guys were getting into, I was just like, yeah. Not that I have a problem with anybody who gets vaccinated at all by anything or any of them or anything like that. It's just not for me. They had the conspiracy podcast had a paranormal podcast guy on, and his story was freaking crazy. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. So I started listening to his podcast. And then a friend of mine also had his own podcast. He doesn't do it anymore, but I was a guest on his show, and we just talked about random stuff, kind of like, Joe Rogan style.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I was listening to this paranormal podcast, and I was like, I want to talk to people about ghosts and shit. Like, I want to hear people.
That's where I kind of got into it too. I started listening to, with our jobs, we have so much time that we're not communicating with people. We basically own our own cleaning company. So we do, residential and commercial cleaning. So you're in houses all by yourself. And I got so tired of listening to music. I'm listening to the same thing over and over and over again. So then I found podcasts, and then I was listening to some of the bigger podcasts. And now I don't listen to any of the big ones anymore. I've gone all indie. I've gone all with our circle. I'm trying to get through everyone's, and that way, I'll be all caught up, and then I can just each week listen to everyone's episodes and stuff. But Jeremy is a major introvert as well.
Yeah, you think?
So this was really hard for him he supported me in wanting to do this, but it was way out of his comfort zone.
It still is.
Yeah. Eventually it won't.
Yeah, I don't know. I fight myself every time we record. It's like really hard.
Yes. You've gotten better though. I don't have to convince you as much, especially when we do crossovers. He likes to get in his head a little bit, but I keep telling him just let your natural personality that I see shine through. And when we had David and Amanda on, Jeremy made the comment about being introverted, and David was like, "What? No way." He goes, "I would have never got that from listening to you." And he's a major introvert.
Yeah. I can tell from listening, I can tell just because I am also you're a little reserved, I feel like, with the words you choose.
Yes.
Oh, definitely. I think about everything I say.
Yes. And
so do I.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm the extrovert, and I end up stumbling over my words because my brain is going so fast, and I have so much that I want to say that I don't spit it out right all the time.
I think
I'm actually at that point now is where I'm getting ahead of myself, and I'm just like, it's just like the fumbling that I just did over the word peculiar. I'm just like, oh.
Words are hard.
That's what editing's for.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the only reason I'm still in this, is because I like the editing part of it. I like learning. So I find that part of it fun.
Yeah, he's a major techie.
Yeah.
Because I hate editing.
Oh, I go deep.
He does. He goes, well, I'll go through and edit at times when we're getting backlogged, or if we're getting to crunch time to get the episode out, I'll go in and edit. He's taught me the basics. And so I'll go in and do some stuff, and then he'll always go over my edits again.
That's funny.
So among paranormal phenomenon, cryptids, and the unknown, do you have a favorite topic or creature that you find particularly fascinating or mysterious?
I feel like Dogman out of the cryptids would be extremely mysterious and interesting, just because of so there, werewolf or whatever that it could be. Some people think it's a government experiment. Some people think that they work for the government. Some people think that they are soldiers turned into, dogs and stuff. And whenever somebody has a sighting, there's this metal sound, like a portal door or maybe even like an underground base door opening up, and then this creature is out there, and it's probably one of the scarier of the cryptids. I don't, out of all the cryptids that I know of, I feel like this one. This one's gonna take my life if I ever encounter it.
Yes.
Yeah, anytime I hear about Dogman, I always, there's similarities to like Bigfoot, and so I don't know. Some of the stories are really alike in that aspect.
Well, and with
yeah.
and with
There's a lot
Dogman,
of-
go ahead. Sorry.
A lot of them are Dogman and Bigfoot are seen together, like in the like the same experience, not like essentially like they're actually together at the same time.
Okay.
But within like the same night.
Like the Beast of Briar Road in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It sounds like very similar to a Dogman.
Yeah, and then you got the beast in the werewolf of the LBL or whatever, the wolf of the LBL or beast of the LBL. Martin Groves has a wild experience out there with his hunting buddy, where he literally saw a Dogman being held back by a collar and a leash that were made of chains by Bigfoot. So, and he wrote 2 books on that.
Wow.
And I really want to talk to him.
That is very cool. Yeah, the guy that you interviewed, to the Tomato Fields book.
Yeah.
I actually reached out to him, or I think we followed each other on Instagram, and then he thanked me for the follow and sent me the link to his book. And then I asked him if he had ever been on a podcast for an interview, and it was funny because like 2 weeks later I was listening to your podcast and you had him on there. I'm like, yay, somebody's interviewing him. Very cool story there too.
Yeah, he's a wicked nice guy too. He's a lot of fun to talk to.
Definitely. Well, I think we'll have one final question. And this one is, have you ever visited a location known for paranormal activity or cryptid sightings? And if so, did you experience anything out of the ordinary?
Absolutely. So I recently went to the Huckamuck Swamp inside the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts. I went with Exploring with Phil on YouTube, so there's a whole video on it. We think we heard the portal door open for like a Dogman. We heard a metal door, and his word bank that for that the spirits or entities that can speak to will submit words into. We heard that metal sound, and then the word bank says door.
Wow.
And then he heard what sounded like a dog was behind him, like a dog, like it sounded like somebody was walking their dog up behind him, and it freaked him out. And I heard it too, but it sounded more like just like somebody shuffling. Like I thought he was just like, because I think I had my back to him at the time, and I just heard like a shuffling sound, and I thought it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the spirit box, we got a lot of wicked cool replies. So I'm Penobscot Indian here in front. It's a tribe here in Maine, and so the Huckamuck Swamp is was land for the Wampanoag people, and to hear the spirit box say Penobscot, say my name, and say podcast in such a short amount of time
that's crazy.
It gave me goosebumps. And then it told us to look out, get out of the way, and we're like, what are we in the way of? And then they said Bigfoot.
What?
Like, oh, shit. So I'm like,
you're standing in his portal.
Yeah. I threw a rock into the woods, and Phil's like, "Can you throw that back at us?" I was like, "Preferably not at my head."
Right. Let me be specific here. Throw it that direction.
Yeah. And then on the SLS camera, we saw a bunch of little people.
Oh, very cool. Now, this was after you went to Florida and did the Estes session with oh, I'm mind blocking their name now. Wasn't that before this experience too?
Yeah, it was literally like a week before.
And you know what the Estes is, Jeremy?
Nope.
Where they're blindfolded and they have the noise canceling headphones on and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's 305 Paranormal.
Yes,
Black
305.
Smoke Paranormal.
Yes.
Together they but they're also a part of a bigger group called War Party Paranormal.
Okay.
But yeah, Mondo, who goes by Mr. 305 Paranormal on Instagram, he asked Spirit to, touch my shoulder. And then right after that, it felt like my shoulder was being squeezed. So
yeah,
that was pretty interesting.
I listened to that. Well, I listened to all of those episodes, but that one I couldn't wait when you guys were talking about the Estes session. I kept waiting because you kept saying you were going to Florida, and I was like so excited to hear because you'd never really gone on a ghost hunt. And so I was like super excited. And then you were, talking about this Estes session that you did. And they did a great job of putting that together for you. And it was fun to listen to. It was very fun. I don't know. I mean, I think I could do what you did with like just sitting in a room, but I don't think I could do what Farah did. I don't know if you heard what she did an Estes in her cave.
Yeah. She was just on I think it's episode 81 right now, where she talked about the going into the cave and stuff.
Oh, she's on. Oh, I'm gonna have to listen to that one. Oh my gosh. When I was watching the YouTube video that her and Courtney did on that, and I'm like, get her out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, the skinwalkers are not something to mess with. And if they think there's skinwalkers in there. But yeah, I love hearing all of these stories and and it's fun because when you get into this, like our little group or whatever, we learn from each other, and we're learning more about each other from everybody's podcasts and stuff. And so that makes it fun. And like with a lot of these questions, obviously we're not doing video, but when we wrote the questions, because, listening to your show, I know a lot of your stories, and every time we'd ask a question, I'd kind of nod my head. I'm like, yes, that's the story I wanted him to tell. It was what I had in mind, So, but why don't you go ahead and give us one final reminder of where we can find you?
All right. So it's Where the Weird Ones Are on Facebook and Instagram. The website is wheretheweirdonесarepodcast.com. You can even leave a rating and a review on the website for the show if you happen to be on YouTube or if you don't, or if you're like on Amazon and you're listening through that or something like that, or one of the platforms that don't allow you to do ratings and review. So the website, you can find all the stuff like the store, the merch store, and I started a blog on there too. So TikTok is Kevin This Is, and if anybody who listens to your show, if they have a story that they're interested in telling and they want to be featured on the show, they can reach out to me at wheretheweirdonесare@gmail.com, and we can set something up.
And I'm assuming everybody can find you guys on Apple and Spotify and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's so the platforms that the show's on is Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and then videos on Rumble and YouTube.
Very cool.
Awesome. Definitely check him out. He will have you wanting more with each episode. So
it's a great show, people.
Yes, and it's different content, which is nice. It's not, the same stories being retold by different people. It's all raw content. But well, thank you, Kevin, for coming on and blessing us with your presence. And again, I encourage everyone, go listen to his show.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on, and I can't wait for you guys to come on to my show.
Yes, next month. I'm excited. I'm gonna have to figure out all my ghosty stories. All right. Well, you have a great day.
You as well.
Right.
Take care.
Catch you later, Kevin. Bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Wow, guys, what an episode, huh? Kevin was great.
He certainly was. What fun stories. And we got to, dive into a lot of different things.
Yeah, we went deep, people. We went deep.
Went really deep. Well, thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Everybody, please go check out his podcast. You won't be disappointed. And we've got some exciting episodes coming up in the next few weeks. Jeremy's going to go off of this episode a little bit and dive more into the flat earth theory. And he's going to bring his own theories into it. We have the Palmer House story with special guest Jenny, where she's going to kind of tell us some of her ghost stories and about paranormal investigations. Then we're going to go into some cursed movies. And then we're going to have Nash from Chasing Legends, a cryptid hunter, on the show. So I tell you, the next few weeks are going to be pretty amazing.
Exciting.
But until then, keep on creeping on, everybody.
Later.
We love you.
Smell you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.